What's up, everybody? It's Jacob. Thanks for joining me. I thought I'd do a quick impromptu live tonight. I got some interesting comments on some videos this week, so I thought I'd go through some of those and put some of my thoughts on that. Also, too, I still haven't figured out the chat thing, so I don't even know if I turned it off. So I apologize if I'm not interacting with you guys yet. I'm slowly getting there, slowly but surely. So I appreciate your patience while I deal with all this new technology. So let me go to my little quick announcement here. I do have an email address. If you have video requests, or maybe you don't want to comment directly on my videos on the channel, you can go to genxjacob@proton.me. I'm also going to be doing a email list so that when I release some educational materials, those will be made available. My plan is to make them affordable and not obnoxiously expensive, and also make it worth my time and all that stuff. But the idea is I want to do some prompt engineering training, just some really basic stuff to get started. Because some people have been asking me. And this Saturday, I'm going to do another live where I'm going to show how I generated the metadata. And I think I'm going to do the one where I asked AI, the thought experiment that just came out today. If you haven't seen it yet, on reinventing marriage, I asked the AI to reinvent marriage based on like what men are worried about and what modern women are worried about, and just kind of come to like some kind of other thing in the middle. And it ended up kind of being a neat little experiment. So I think I'm going to do more of those. But anyway, let's get into some of the comments here. I'm not sure when I don't remember when I launched this one, but female narcissism and entitlement, the perfect storm of wokeness and social media. And that was the video where I was talking about this documentary that I watched, Coddling of the American Mind. And while it was primarily about wokeness, it did get into a little bit about how social media is in the mix and how it affects young girls and young boys quite differently. And I connected some dots on, how dating and all the entitlement that we're seeing, in case you haven't seen it. But I recommend watching it. I thought it was one of my better ones. But I got this comment from Palace of Wisdom, and he was talking about how all of society's ills are caused by 1960s rock and roll music, 1990s video games, 2010s corn, and 2020 social media. This is done by people old enough to have adult children because they don't want to admit that their parenting played any part in the next generation's dysfunction. The particular scapegoat changes, but the tactic is always the same. Quote, I did a great job of parenting, but was undermined. What a lot of parents say. Sure you were. I see what you're saying there, Palace of Wisdom. And, I think what's going to happen at sometime in the near future is just like when in the early 90s, when, I don't know if it'll be the government necessarily, when Congress went after Marlboro, the cigarette manufacturer, for basically hiding the fact that cigarettes are bad for you, and even going so far as to say they're actually good for you in the early days when cigarettes came out. But ultimately, they're just putting all kinds of weird things in the cigarettes that were unhealthy. If I recall, there was like asbestos, fiberglass, and even some I think formaldehyde and all kinds of really odd crap they put in the cigarettes. And what ended up happening was there was a massive class action lawsuit. And also I think the government also fined, I can't remember if it was exactly $12 billion or $15 billion that Marlboro was ultimately fined for all the years of negligence, and endangering people with their product. And I think something similar is going to happen with cell phones. Now, if it's going to be a law passed or going after social media or going after phone manufacturers or software developers, I really don't know how it will go. But I think ultimately it's going to be something like where they're going to view the smartphone as like giving children like meth or cigarettes and a loaded weapon or something, and just kind of go after it that way. Because I think giving the young kids these phones certainly doesn't help. And yes, parenting to a degree, I see what you're saying. But anecdotally, I have two sisters. One is 25 years younger than me. She just turned 25. And I have one that's 10 years behind me. And they both grow up in a very, Christian home. The rules were clear. It's not like it was super strict or anything, but, the rules were clear. This is how you live. This is what we believe. We raised up in the church and all that. And both of them really got sucked into the whirlwind of wokeness, social media, whether they were young or older. So I just kind of thought that was interesting, and I wanted to tie that, anecdotally. But, don't underestimate the pull of culture because, again, girls, especially young girls, they see how they relate to the larger group, and they'll do pretty much, what it takes to fit in so that their reputation isn't ruined. Whereas, boys may not, fall for that as much. But certainly I think girls fall prey to that. And because it's in society, all the and social media, it's 24 hours a day in the home, on their phone, at school, at work, a DEI and wokeness. And then of course in college, there's just all these factors that amplify the effect. So I just kind of wanted to add that on top of what you were saying. But yeah, great comment. Thanks by the way for being a regular viewer and a regular commenter. Let's see, what do we have here? Yes. In the video I did also earlier this week, I had the death of low-skilled jobs, where I talked about how Amazon's planning to eliminate human workers. Maybe that was a little exaggeration, a little clickbaity. I admit it. I'm sorry, but certainly a lot of jobs will go away, and I'll explain further. But not all of the jobs in the warehouse, but a large number of them. But I have a regular commenter here, Miss Gen Exodus. Actually, she has a channel where she does a lot of Gen X nostalgia, and she comes over every once in a while and comments, and always has some really cogent comments. And this one I thought was really good, and I want to expand a little more on it as well. And again, I'm sorry. I'm new to this live stuff, and I couldn't figure out how to get the chat work. So if you're chatting right now and I didn't turn it off, I'm sorry. I'll go back and check later. So I'm sorry. I'm just learning this stuff as I go along. So I appreciate your patience. Okay, so getting back to Miss Gen Exodus's comment here. That's fantastic, because I was talking about all the jobs going away. We need more employees in healthcare. Warehouse workers have a skill set that would translate into nursing homes and care facilities quite well. Oldsters need drivers and cooks and grocery shoppers. They need someone who can help them dress and remember their meds. Oldsters also need people to clean their homes, mow their lawns, and we need roofers and drywallers and carpenters, so also the trades as well. So that was something I talked a lot in the video, but I want to get into the health worker thing. Get those folks out of the mindless warehouses and doing work that actually matters. I agree with that. I'm not joking, especially with the deportations happening. We're going to need all the domestic workers we can find to prop up the tsunami of elderly people. So I've talked in a couple of other videos where we're going through this population decline and how it's affecting other programs. And one of those the video that I made was, is Social Security a scam? And in that I talk about sort of like although it's not literally a Ponzi scheme, but it's based on the current workers, the current taxes that are collected by the current workforce. And as the workforce shrinks, there's less taxes collected, which means there's less money to go into the coffers to pay out on the Social Security. And you couple that with AI taking a lot of jobs and booting people out of the workforce, at least initially, for maybe the next 5, possibly 10 years. And, there will be more jobs created out of this, but the short-term pain is a lot of people are going to get displaced. On top of people having less kids going into the workforce and paying taxes. So the workforce is shrinking, the tax revenue is shrinking, and then you're going to have all these elderly people start slamming the system and putting a big demand. So the idea is that the people that are getting displaced from AI can go into the healthcare market and do some of this work, which I think is a great point. But also too, It's also part of the body of jobs that will not be greatly affected by AI pushing or displacing a lot of workers. And these are usually jobs where you're interacting a lot one-on-one with people. So like hairdressers, manicurists, dealing with the elderly, things like that, where also too, not only just the skill sets, but human empathy, where human empathy is required, very important. And that is until we get AGI, artificial general intelligence, and the robots will get good enough to actually emulate human emotions and dexterity. But we're a long way off from that. But yeah, this is I thought this is a great hope, gives a little bit of hope, and I thought that was a great comment. So thanks for that, Gen Exodus, and thanks for watching and commenting regular, by the way. And one last comment that we got here on my video that I put out on, is it okay to age alone as a man over 50? And I kind of put that out as just as a little bit of a thought experiment. I didn't want to talk about it until I got more comments, just to kind of see how people would react to it. And what I thought would happen happened. And there's sort of this knee-jerk reaction a lot of times in the manosphere when you're asking questions like this where, is it okay to be alone? And everybody immediately, or I should say a great number of manosphere people jump to the idea of like, well, I'd rather be alone than be unhappy and suffer. And they didn't really like listen to the actual point of the video, or the actual question I was asking is, when you get to end of life, what's going to happen? Who's going to take care of you? And that was like a concern that I had. And that's why I asked the question and kind of went through that exploration of like, that Soylent Green scenario where people will volunteer for euthanization and, kind of went off in this dystopic kind of path. But yeah, I kind of want to ask the question again, what can we do? Because, just like with Gen Exodus was mentioning earlier in her comment, that, we'll have all these people running around that won't have work. What system is going to, put that in place? How is that going to help? What's the move forward? But anyway, yeah, let's see here. Forgot to read the comment. I'm sorry. It's a little small for me. Tensionality effects. Yes, tensionality effects, my old man eyes, I'm sorry. You need to commit to some exercise to maintain mobility and some strength to manage an older age. I recently divorced, don't have kids, and I don't have plans to remarry. So again, it's kind of like that, the idea that we really don't know how it's going to end up for us. Because now that I'm in my mid-50s and I've seen all my grandparents pass, and now I'm watching my parents age and start to show, signs of becoming elderly. We really just don't know how we're going to age. Some people that are, the picture of health, I've seen just decline terribly. Just anecdotally, there was a gentleman that was at a church that I was going to, and this guy was very, he was buff, he was huge, and he was like in his mid-70s, looked really healthy. And, he kind of had an ego about it. He'd walk in, come in the door and just, was a very imposing person and could be a little verbally, just gruff. And I watched him over a year period, maybe a little less than that, literally evolve into someone who was just kind of, and his wife will walk him in the door, just to see that happen in a year. So we really just don't know. Now, luckily he had a wife to take care of him. But again, that's why I asked the question for those of us, myself included, who never got married, never have kids, don't have the legacy of children. What's going to happen to us? And I was just really surprised by how many people ignored that question in the video and just immediately jumped to, oh, I'd rather be, alone than miserable and suffer with which I understand. But again, all I'm saying is just start thinking and planning for what's going to happen, because we just don't know how we're going to age. Nobody does. It's just impossible to predict. So that was kind of the point of my video. Maybe my I didn't make the point clear enough, but I was just really surprised at how knee-jerk the reaction was. Honestly, I think maybe a lot of the viewers didn't actually watch the video and they just reacted to the thumbnail. So maybe that's what happened. But anyway, I just wanted to do this impromptu live just to see how a couple of overlays would work. And, you know, again, I've got my email here and a list to notify you of upcoming things. Don't cover your face. That's not good. But as you can see, I'm getting some more kitsch in the studio and adding adding some more stuff, changing some lights, and I got something really planned for this space right here. That's going to be interesting Saturday, so stay tuned for that. But anyway, thanks for sticking with me, and I apologize. I couldn't figure out the chat. I'm learning this, guys, gals. I appreciate you coming in. If you came in, I see there's 10 concurrent viewers and 4 chats already. Oh, goodness, I forgot to turn off the chat. That's my bad. But again, thank you so much for joining me. If you like this kind of content, like and subscribe, comment below, and until the meantime, peace.